What's up, bullish friends? Hope you guys are doing well out there today. And I want to talk just a little bit more about Fednow. Now, Fednow, as you know, launched last week. We've talked about it. I put out a video on it. I'll put that a link in the description below if you missed it. But one thing that I've been noticing since Fednow has launched are the glowing mainstream articles, the mainstream news source pieces that are coming out about it with very little skepticism at all. And I find this, it's reminiscent of the old Conan skit where he shows all the news anchors talking and they all parrot the same talking points all across the entire, world basically. And it kind of reminded me of that. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll link to that as well. It's always a good bit. And I think someone did this way before Conan, but I know Conan made it popular because he's, super famous, super popular. But anyway, on these Fednow articles, I just want to show you guys a couple things, and I want to get your opinion on this as we go through this. But if you go through a lot of these articles, they all parrot very similar things, and we can just go through the subheadlines here, and I can show you a couple things. So they all talk about what Fednow is, and it talks about all these glowing things, how it's going to help us send and receive funds almost instantaneously. And then, it goes through, it's not going to replace things like Venmo and Cash App. They always parrot what the Fed said on that. And I don't have an issue with that because it's, when you're putting out an article and it's a news source, you do want to state what your subject's opinion is of their own product. So when Jerome Powell comes out and talks about what Fednow is, you want to be able to put that in the article because you want to share that with the audience. But at the same time, you want to share the potential other side of that argument as well, potentially what it will do. But all of the articles go into, will this replace cash? And then, of course, this article here says, no, the Fednow system won't replace the dollar or digital currency for that matter. Think of it as a platform that will transfer your dollar online the same way popular money apps transfer funds. Okay, they all talk about that. But they all basically say, it's not going to replace cash. It's not going to replace Venmo. It's not going to replace PayPal. And these things we're already using. And they're all saying, it's not going to replace crypto and all that. And then they all bring up, is it going to create a digital currency? And it always brings up the Fed saying, no, it's not going to create a digital currency. We're not interested in that. Even though some of their finer points they've made on that don't rule out the fact that they could make a CBDC from this. All these articles basically state the very same things. Now, maybe information is just extremely limited, but you would think they would at least produce some counter arguments in all of this. Now, so let me show you just a couple other mainstream sources like The Week. Again, this does the same thing, goes into how it works. And then is the Fed gunning for Venmo and PayPal? The Federal Reserve isn't offering a service to rival popular person-to-person payment services like Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, or Cash App. Okay, same type of thing. Go over to CNBC. Same thing. You get basically the same type of reporting. Okay, it's all the good, none of the negative or potentially negative stuff. But you go over to Bitcoin Magazine and you will get more. They will include the parts, like I said, about where they say that it's not going to take out Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and private transfers. But then they also give the other side of the coin about the potential downfall. Now, maybe that's how we are in crypto. We're typically a little bit more skeptical of what we're being told to begin with. So maybe that's just the whole nature of the beast. But I just find it interesting that all these mainstream sources are parroting the same talking points on this while we're getting a very different painted picture from alternative sites. I always like to question everything. I think you should. I think you should question any information that's presented in front of you so you can make your own best decision at hand. And I think just blindly listening to some of these people is a mistake. And now I don't watch mainstream news hardly ever, because I've learned my lesson from that. Whether, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're in the politics or whatever, if you're listening to mainstream, you're getting a very controlled narrative that gets put into your way, into your face, you know. But like, again, so looking over here, like if you go to Zero Hedge, now they have a lot of different articles that they bring in, and I don't always agree with things that they put on their website. But again, they come out with a more skeptical viewpoint of Fednow and the whole system. And they actually break it down into, you know, the potential for CBDCs from this and what the infrastructure in place is. So I'll link to some of this stuff for you guys to read on your own. But I want your opinion. Like, what do you think? Do you think this is a controlled narrative that we're being fed, or do you think that's just a bunch of nonsense? Because, you know, I have my viewpoint on it, and someone else might have a totally different standpoint. Like, you might have a totally different standpoint on it and think that maybe they just present news and information as they get it, and that's just how life works, and that there's no big conspiracy behind any of this, or there's nothing too negative or anything like that. But anyway, I want your opinion. It's just something I noticed recently, and it's just something that was on my mind that I figured we could have a really cool discussion about and find out what you guys all think. Anyway, that's all I've got today, guys, on this one. I will see you in the next video.